Hello everyone, this is module 5B part 2, and in this video we'll complete the homework problems numbers 21 through 41. Starting with number 21, we're going to substitute these values for A, and H into our formula. Part A before the semicolon is our formula, and then we're going to substitute the value of 84 for the big A. We're going to substitute 12 for H. So we will rewrite, excuse me, we'll rewrite the equation first. A equals BH. And now we will replace capital A with 84. We're given that value. So capital A will become 84. And that equals B times H. We don't know what B is, but we do have a value for H. So where H is, we're going to substitute 12. So that will become, instead of B times H, B times 12. And I'll just place the 12 in parentheses. The reason we're placing that in parentheses is so we could remind ourselves that B and H being side by side means multiplication. So the parentheses will remind us to multiply B times 12. However, our goal is to figure out what the letter B is. So 84 equals B times 12. To get B, you're going to divide both sides of the equation by 12. So we divide the left and the right sides of the equation by 12. And when we divide both sides by 12, we'll get B by itself on the right side because the 12s cancel out. And on the left side, we're dividing 84 by 12, and that will give us 7. So our answer here for B is 84 divided by 12, or 7. Number 22, we're substituting again into a new formula. Now we have A equals 1/2 H, and in parentheses, capital B plus lowercase b. We're substituting values that are given. For A, we're substituting 30. For right here, next to the equal sign, we'll replace letter A with 30. Equals 1/2, that remains the same. H, we do not know the value of H, so we'll keep H. But we do have a value for capital B and lowercase b. So we're going to replace capital B with 2 plus lowercase b, which is 1. Now we'll simplify. Our order of operations tell us that we must add first. So we're going to add the 2 plus 1 in parentheses. That'll give us 3. And then we'll bring down the other terms that are in front of the parentheses, 1/2 H, the equal sign, and 30. Now let me recopy this over here on the side so we'll have a little bit more space to work with. So 30 equals 1/2 H times 3. Now if you notice here on the right side of the equal sign, we have 1/2 H and 3 side by side. That means we're multiplying those 3 terms. So in order to get H by itself, we do the opposite of multiplying by 1/2 and 3, which is to divide by 1/2 and 3. I'm just going to go ahead and divide both of those terms together. Now, if you recall, when we divide by fractions, that's the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. So we actually will take the reciprocal of 1/2. What do we mean by reciprocal? That means we're going to flip the fraction and multiply both sides by that reciprocal. When we flip 1/2, that becomes 2/1. So we're going to be multiplying both sides by 2/1. And I'm just going to place the 2/1 in parentheses. Now recall, multiplying by the reciprocal is the same thing as dividing by the fraction. So we're no longer dividing by 1/2, we're multiplying by its reciprocal. We're multiplying by the reciprocal. And when we multiply by the reciprocal, look, the 2's cancel out, the 1's cancel, and then the 3 divided by the 3 cancel on the right. So we're left with just h on the right side of the equal sign. On the left side, we have 2 times 30 in the numerator, 2 times 30, and that gives us 60. Divided by, in the denominators, we have 1 times 3 divided by 3. So our answer for h is 60 divided by 3, or 20. So for h, we'll get 20. For 23, we have another equation, p equals a plus b plus c, and we're substituting and solving to get the value of c. So p equals a plus b plus c. That's the equation that's given to us. And we're given some values for p, a, and b. So we're going to substitute those numbers. For p, we're going to replace p with 29 equals a, we're replacing 9 plus b, which is 8. And we do not know c, so we're going to keep the letter c there. Now to solve, on the right side of the equation, we can go ahead and add 9 plus 8, right? So 9 plus 8 would give us 17 plus c, bring down the term on the right, equals 29. All right, now our equation, we have, let's make a little bit more space. I'm going to rewrite as 29 equals 17 plus c. So to solve this equation, we need to get c by itself. We're going to subtract 17 from both sides. That's the opposite. Positive 17, the opposite will be negative, which tells us to subtract 17 from both sides of the equation. The 17s will cancel over here on the right side of the equation. So we're just left with c over on the right. And 29 minus 17 will give us 12. Now for 24, we're solving the formula for the specified variable. Now look closely at these types of problems. It says W equals X plus XYZ for Z. So this is the specified variable. We're trying to get Z by itself. So let's rewrite the equation first. W equals X plus X, Y, Z. We want Z by itself. So we need to get rid of every term that's not Z on the right side of the equal sign. So let's always start with our term that's not attached to the variable. We're going to start with this single X out here by itself in front of the plus sign. It's positive. Therefore, we would subtract X from both sides first. Now, when we subtract X from the terms on the right side of the equal sign, the X's will cancel, leaving X, Y, Z, all those terms attached to each other, equals. And on the left, we do not know what W or X are, so we just write them side by side, W minus X. And now lastly, remember X, Y, and Z means we're multiplying these terms if they are side by side. The opposite, because we need to get rid of X and Y, would be to divide both the left and the right sides by X and Y. And you can go ahead and divide them out together. When we divide X and Y on the right side of the equal sign, you see they cancel. And now we have Z by itself, and that's what we want. And that equals W minus X divided by XY. So Z equals W minus X divided by XY. That's your answer. Now for 25, we're solving this formula again for the specified variable. What is our specified variable? It's F. So this time we're going to get F by itself. Looking at our equation, D equals 1/4 FK. And we want F by itself. So that means get rid of the 1/4 and get rid of the K. It's very similar to a problem we did a couple of seconds ago. We want F by itself, so we need to get rid of the 1/4. We need to get rid of the 1/4. And we need to get rid of the K. Now, in order to get rid of the 1/4, we would divide both sides by 1/4, but dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. So really what we're going to do is flip this fraction and multiply. So that numerator moves to the denominator. I'm just drawing an arrow to show you the denominator moves to the numerator and the numerator moves to the denominator. That becomes 4/1. And we're going to multiply both sides of this equation by that reciprocal, 4/1. When we multiply the right side of the equation by the reciprocal, 4/1 with 1/4, those two terms are going to cancel each other out. So that just leaves FK on the right side of the equal sign. On the left side, we have 4 times D in the numerator. That will be 4D all over 1. So we could just leave it as 4D. The last thing we want to do, since we want F by itself, is get rid of this K. I'm multiplying by K, so the opposite would be to divide both sides of the equation by K. The K's will cancel on the right. So F equals, and we have it 4D over K. So 4D over K. 26, we're translating to an equation and then solving it. And we're going to use X to represent the unknown number. So what number is 48% of 91? For these types of percent problems, I'd like you to use or try to use the percent formula. It's one method that could be easy for you. And our percent formula is as follows. So our percents will be solved using proportions, and the way we set up our proportions is using the words is and of as a fraction. So whatever term represents our is divided by the term that represents of equals, and then the percent divided by 100. So this is the percent formula we're going to use for the next few problems. All we're doing is substituting values. All right, so our first problem says, what number is 48% of 91? The percent is pretty easy to spot. Why? Because it has a big percent sign behind it. So for 48%, Right here in our formula where we see the percent symbol, percent over 100, we're going to replace that percent symbol with 48. And the rest of our formula on the right side is divided by 100. On the left side, is over of. What number is 48%? We've got that one out of the way, of 91. So my of is the value I need to substitute next. My of is at the bottom on the left side of the equation. So we'll replace the word of with 91. Now the term that we don't know, we're going to use x, just like our directions said. Let x be the unknown number. So we're going to put x for the word is, because that's the term that we do not know. And then we solve this proportion. The way you solve proportions is you cross multiply. So we're going to multiply these terms that are diagonal to each other. The x and 100 and the 91 and 48. You multiply these two diagonals and then you put an equal sign between them and solve the equation. So 100 times x, that gives us 100x. And then on the opposite diagonal, 91 times 48. So we're multiplying each of the terms that are diagonal to each other. And 91 times 48 gives us 4,368. The last step would be for us to solve this equation. I have 100x equals 4,368. So I just divide both left and right sides of the equation by 100. The 100s will cancel over here on the left side of the equal sign. And on the right side, you're left with 43.68. That's what you should get when you divide here. 43.68. And that's our solution for 26. For 27, 40% of what number is 120? Let's go back to our percent formula. Remember, it's is over of equals percent over 100. So let's see what our setup is going to be. Let me do something to separate these two problems. So 40%, where our percent symbol is in our formula, we're going to replace 40 over 100 equals, on the left side of our equation, is over of. So of what number, so we don't know the of, is 120. So where the word is right here at the top of our fraction, we're going to replace 120. And because we don't know the of, we're going to put x there and cross multiply. So 40 times x and 100 times 120. 40 times x would give us 40x. 120 times 100, we'll rewrite this, will give us 12,000. So we have 40x equals 12,000. That's 3 zeros. And to solve, we would divide both sides of the equation by 40. Now, when we divide both sides by 40, the 40s will cancel over here on the left side of the equal sign. And we'll get x equals 300. For 28, we're going to use our percent formula again. It says what percent of 75, so there's our of, is 90. So we have is and of that we need to substitute into our percent formula. Remember, our percent formula is over of equals percent over 100. So let's put our equal sign here. Is over of on the left side. My is 90. That goes in the numerator. And our of would be 75. That goes in the denominator. Equals. We don't know the percent. So for the percent symbol this time, we will replace the letter x divided by 100. And then we're going to solve this equation. Cross multiply. 90 times 100, 75 times x. So 75 times x will give us 75x equals 9,000. Now to solve the equation, we just divide both sides by 75. Now the 75s will cancel on the left side of the equation. And on the right side, 9,000 divided by 75 will give us 120. So what percent of 75 is 90? It's 120%. And that makes sense because 90 is bigger than 75. 75 would be 100% of this number, but if we got a number that's larger, that's greater than 100%. 29, a woman earns $2,300 per month and she budgets $345 for food. What percent of her monthly income is spent on food? So this time we're actually looking for percent. So we're looking for the percent. Now, sometimes these questions aren't written in simple sentence form like the last three problems. So we have to do a little bit more digging to figure out what our is, our of are. I recommend you rewrite the sentence. So we're being asked what percent of her monthly income. So we're saying what percent of her monthly income, but what is her monthly income? So what percent of the $2,300 that she earns per month? So what percent of $2,300, 2,300, is spent on food? So the is would be the amount of money that she spends on food, the $345. So what percent of 2,300 is 345? And now we can easily substitute these numbers into our formula. So let's remind ourselves of what the formula is. It's is divided by of equals percent divided by 100. So is over of, the word is, the word of. Our is 345. So at the top on the left side, we replace the word is with 345. Divided by of, our of is 2,300. Equals the percent we don't know. So that will be our x divided by 100. Let's cross multiply. So we got 345 times 100 and 2,300 times x. And that gives us, let's rewrite it over here on the side. 2,300 x equals, hope we have enough space here. So it's equal to 34,500. And then we divide both sides of the equation by 2,300. Remember, the 2,300s will cancel on the left side of the equation. And on the right side, 34,500 divided by 2,300 would give us 15. So she spends 15% of her income on food. Number 30, a 43-inch piece of steel is cut into 3 pieces, and here's our image to describe the 3 pieces. Now the second piece is twice as long, twice. That means 2 times something, so that's why you see the 2x here. And the third piece is 3 inches more than 5 times the length of the first piece. Now we don't know the length of the first piece, so that's why we put x. The second piece is twice as long as x, so 2 times x. The third piece is 3 inches more than, so that plus 3, that's 3 inches more than 5 times its length, so 5 times the length of the first piece, 5x. Part A of this question says, what is the length of the first piece? Now, we're told in the beginning of this problem what the total length of this seal is. So all of these pieces, when we add them together, we'll get 43 inches. We use that information in order to write an equation. If I know that all 3 of these pieces together is 43, then I write an equation by adding each of the 3 pieces. 1x plus 2x plus 3 plus 5x equals 43. Now I'd solve this equation. How can I solve it? Because look at my terms on the right. They're all x terms, so I can combine them with the exception of the 3. So x plus 2x plus 5x would leave us with how many x's? That'll be 8 of them. So 8x plus the 3 equals 43. We're going to solve this equation, and to solve it, we want to get x by itself on the left. So always start with the term that's not attached to the variable. Our 3, the opposite of adding 3 would be to subtract it. So we're going to subtract 3 from both sides of the equation first. The 3's will cancel on the left side, leaving x, 8x. On the right, 43 minus 3 will give us 40, and then we divide both sides of the equation by 8. X equals 5. Now, what does x represent? Remember, that's our first piece. So to answer this question, the first part of the question, what is the length of the first piece? It's going to be 5. And our lengths of each of these were in inches, so 5 inches. What is the length of the second piece? Remember, the second piece is twice as long as the first one. So 2 times 5 will make the second piece 10 inches long. And then, what is the length of the third piece? We substitute 5 again right here for x. So that will be 5 times 5. That gives us 25. Plus the 3. So plus the 3 would make that third piece 28 inches long. And for each of these problems, you're not only asked to write the length, you're asked to write the units, and you're going to bubble in the units. So for number 1, we should bubble in inches. For number 2, bubble in inches by itself. Bubble in inches again for number 3. You wouldn't use inches to the second power. We use the second power when we're working with area. So because we're just talking about one dimension, the length, we would use one dimension for inches. Okay, just remember the second power is represented when we calculate area. Let's look at 31. A birthday celebration meal is $54.20, including the tax, but without a tip. So we're going to find the total cost of a 10% tip, or if a 10% tip is added to the cost of the meal. So we need to figure out what 10% of this bill is going to be. To figure out what 10% of the bill is, we first change the percent to a decimal. So 10% as a decimal, we take our 10% and move the decimal 2 places to the left. So that will be equal to 0.1. When you get the percent as a decimal, you're then going to multiply. That's step 2. So we multiply it by the original price of the meal. The original price of the meal was $54.20. So $54.20 times our percent as a decimal, remember 0.1. And you guys get to use a calculator for this class. So simply just punch in 54.20 times 0.1. All right, this is multiplication here. We're multiplying 2 decimals. So 54.20 times 0.1, and you should get 5.42. Now this is 10% of our meal. The question asks you for the total cost. Now we aren't going to pay just $5.42. We have to now add, remember this is just for the tip. We're going to add the tip to the price of the meal. So now we're going to go back, and in our calculators we punch in the total price of the bill, or the meal, which was $54.20, plus our tip, $5.42. That'll give us our total cost. And we should get $59.62. So $59.62 for 31. For 32, we're finding the original price of a pair of shoes if the sale price is $10, and that's after a 75% discount. So that percent, again, we need to change that percent to a decimal. That will become 0.75. Remember, you just move the decimal 2 places to the left. 0.75, 2 places to the left. Now, the way we work on these original price and sale price problems is we want to apply the following formula. Our sale price, in order to get the price that we pay, it's going to be equal to, so sale price is equal to whatever the original amount was minus the discount. So it's original so let's just put, I'll abbreviate that. So original minus discount. Now our sale price, we already given this information, is $10. So 10 equals our original price, we don't know. So I'm going to put X there for the original price. Minus the discount. Now what is our discount? Remember, it's 75%, but 75% of what? Is 75% of the original price. So that will be 0.75 times X. We have to multiply the discount times the original price in order to figure out how much off we need to take from that original price. Now, if you look closely on the right side of the equal sign, you have two X terms. 1X, this is an invisible 1 here, minus 0.75. So 1 minus 0.75 will give us 0.25X. Just punch these numbers into your calculator. 1 minus 0.75, you get 0.25X equals 10. And then to solve this equation, we would divide both sides by 0.25. The 0.25s will cancel over here on the right side of the equation. And on the left side, we're dividing 10 by 0.25. And let's give ourselves some space over here. So 10 divided by 0.25 should give you 40. 40 equals X. And X represented, if you remember, it's the original price that we paid. So that's the answer to our question. The original price was $40. And after we got the 75% off, we only paid $10. Let's look at 33. The perimeter of a geometric figure is the sum of its lengths. So that means we just add all the sides to get the perimeter. Now it's giving you the perimeter of a pentagon, and it's telling you a pentagon is a 5-sided figure, and that perimeter is 45. So we need to write an equation for the perimeter, and that's easy. Just add all of the sides together and set them equal to 45, because we know the perimeter is 45. That's given to us. So for part A, we just simply add each side. X plus, starting here, X, going up, X again, we have 3 X's, X, X, X plus 3X, plus another 3X equals 45. That's part A. Part B, we're going to solve this equation. So to solve, we would combine like terms over here on the left side. I have 1x plus 1x plus 1x plus 3x plus 3x. So how many x's in all? The 3 and 3, that'll be 6x plus 7 plus 8 plus 9. So we have 9x equals 45. To solve, we would divide both sides of this equation by 9. The 9s will cancel over here on the left side of the equal sign. And x equals, on the right side, 45 divided by 9 will give us 5. So the length of the sides that have x would be 5. That's our value for x. Now the length of the sides that are 3x, we have to multiply 3 times 5. So those longer sides are going to be 15. And that's part C. Find the length of each side. The longer sides would be 15. The shorter sides, x by itself, will be 5. So this was not A. So we had 3 x's and 3x, 3x. There should be letter C equals 45. Our x was 5. And the shorter sides would have a length of 5. The longer sides would have a length of 15. And if you remember, our units should be just centimeters by themselves for 1 and 2. For problem 34, we're going to solve. Now, when the directions tell us to multiply and remove the parentheses, we're just distributing here. So I'm putting these arrows to remind you of the multiplication that has to occur. So 2 times 5x would be 10x. 2 times -3 would be -6. And that equals 11x. Now we want to solve this equation by combining our like terms, the x terms, but they're on opposite sides of the equal sign. So we need to decide if we're going to move the terms, the x from the left to the right, or move the x from the right to the left. It really doesn't matter. We'll go ahead and move the x term to the right. That'll save us another step because 6 can then stay by itself. So positive 10x, to get rid of it, the opposite would be negative. That tells us to subtract 10x from both sides of this equation. So we're subtracting 10x from the left and the right sides, and when we subtract 10x on the left, they cancel. And we're left with -6 on the left side equals 11x minus 10x, that's just x, and that's our answer. X is equal to -6. For 35, we're distributing again. This time we're distributing -7 times both of the terms inside the parentheses. -7 times x will give us -7x. -7 times 2 will give us -14. And then we bring down the rest of the terms, or bring over the rest of the terms. -13 equals 28 plus 8. Now we can simplify on both sides of this equation. On the right side, 28 plus 8, we can go ahead and add those terms together, right? Because they're like terms, they're both constants. We can go ahead and add them together. So we'll get 36 on the right side, that's 28 plus 8. On the left side, we have 2 terms that are constant again, and they're both negative, so we can combine these as well. -14 minus 13 will give us -27. And then we bring down the -7x in front. Start solving this equation. We want x by itself, but we want to start with the term that's not attached to the x term first. So that will be our 27. It's negative. The opposite would be to add 27 to both sides of the equation. The 27s will cancel over here on the left. And on the right side of the equation, we want to add 27 plus 36. That'll give us 63 equals, bring down our equal sign, and then -7x. Let's just move this up here and make some space for ourselves. We have -7x on the left side of the equation equals 63 on the right side. We're going to divide both sides by -7 in order to solve this equation. The -7s on the left side of the equation will cancel each other out. So x equals 63 divided by -7. Just punch that into your calculator and you'll get -9. For 36, we have 19 minus 4x plus 13 plus 2x. Let's just rewrite it here. Minus 4x equals 13 plus 2x. We want to combine like terms, and this time both our terms that are alike on opposite sides of the equal sign. So we're going to combine our x terms together. Our positive 2x will bring that to the left. The opposite would be to subtract 2x from both sides. So we'll subtract 2x. The x terms will cancel on the right side. On the left side, negative 4x minus 2x will give us negative 6x. Bring down our equal sign. Now we see how our x term is on the left. So let's go ahead and move this 19 over to the right. It's positive 19. The opposite would be to subtract 19 from both sides. Now when we subtract 19, on the left side, they cancel, leaving negative 6x. On the right side, we're going to add our 13 plus our 19. Or sorry, we're subtracting, aren't we? So 13 minus 19, which will give us negative 6. All right, and the last step to solve this equation, we're going to divide both sides by negative 6. Both sides of the equation by negative 6. The negative 6's will cancel over here on the left. On the right side, negative 6 divided by negative 6 is 1, and that's our answer. X equals 1. For 37, we're solving an equation, and we have parentheses again, so we got to distribute that 5 that's outside the parentheses. We got to multiply by each of the terms inside. 5 times 5c will give us 25c. 5 times negative 1, that's minus 5. And then minus 3 equals 23c plus 2. Let's solve this equation by combining inner-like terms that are side by side. And in this case, on the left, we can combine negative 5 minus 3 will give us negative 8. We'll bring down the equal sign. Our 25c and our 23c, we need to get those terms together. Our 2 and our negative 8, now we need to get those terms together. So let me just copy this down so we can see what we're dealing with here. 23c plus 2 on the right side of the equal sign, and 25c on the left side. All right, so our 23c, we're going to go ahead and move that to the left. It's positive, so the opposite would be to subtract 23c from both sides of the equation. So minus 23c on the left and the right sides. When we subtract 23c on the right side, look, they cancel out. On the left side, 25c minus that 23c would leave us with 2c. Now our 8 and our 2, we need to combine those because we already have 2c over here on the left. Let's move our 8 to the right side of the equation. So the opposite of minus 8, we're going to add 8 to both sides of the equation. The 8's will cancel over here on the left side. So 2c equals 2 plus 8, or 10. So let's rewrite what we have thus far. We have 2c equals 10. We want to solve this equation. So we're going to divide both sides of the equation by 2. The 2's will cancel, and c equals, this is 10. So 10 divided by 2, which is 5. Now for 38, we're dealing with fractions this time. So we have 3/4 plus y equals negative 3/16. So 3/4 plus y equals negative 3/16. Now to solve this equation, we need to get rid of this 3/4 as positive. So that means we're going to subtract 3/4 from both sides of the equation. So minus 3/4. Now notice how I wrote the fractions on top of each other. The 3/4 are going to cancel on the left. But we got to do a little bit of work over here on the right side because we need common denominators in order to add or subtract fractions. You have to have the same denominator. Right now, we have 16 in the denominator of the first fraction and 4 in the denominator of the second one. We need to find the LCD, the least common multiple, least common denominator of these two numbers, and it's going to be 16. So we rewrite both fractions so that they have 16 in the denominators. The top fraction already has 16, so we'll keep it the same. It'll remain -3/16. However, in the denominator, this bottom fraction, we have to multiply 4 times 4 in order to make that bottom number 16. So whatever you do to the bottom number, you must also perform that same operation with the top number. So 3 times 4 in the numerator would make this 12. All right, so now we have the same denominator. We can go ahead and subtract. We keep that denominator, so we're going to keep 16 in the denominator. And remember, this was a -3 in the numerator, minus 12. So -3 minus 12 would give us negative, which one did we have? 15/16. And that's our answer, -15/16. For number 39, we're dealing with fractions again, but we have two x terms that we also got to bring together. So we have 3x plus 1/56 minus 2x equals 13/14. Now this -2x and the 3x, we can go ahead and combine those because they are on the same side of the equal sign. They're both on the left. All right, so 3x minus 2x would just be x plus 1/56 equals 13/14. Now to solve this equation, you want to get x by itself, so we need to subtract 1/56 from both sides of the equation. Okay, the 1/56 would cancel on the left, so x would be by itself on the left side. Bring down your equal sign, and now when I go to subtract 1/56 from 13/14, I see that I have different denominators again. So we need to rewrite our denominators. We need to find the least common multiple, our common denominator between 56 and 14. Now, an easy way to check this would just be to see if 14 can be divided evenly into 56, and it can. So that means I can multiply this 14 times 4 and get 56. Now, because we're multiplying that bottom number times 4, remember you must also multiply the top number times 4, and that becomes 13 times 4. That will leave us with 52. The bottom fraction will stay the same because it already has 56 in the denominator. But now we can subtract. So 52/56 minus 1/56. That will give us our value of x. 52/56 minus 1/56 would be 51/56. That's our answer. Now for number 40, we're translating this sentence into an equation, and then we're solving the equation. So 5 times some number. We don't know what that number is, so just 5 times x it's added to 7. So that means we're going to add this thing to 7. That means 7 has to already be there. And then we're going to add the 5x to it. It's added to 7 and it is 47. The word is means equal to. So is 47. And then you're asked to find the number. So really we're just being asked to solve this equation for x. So we solve it by starting with the term that's not attached to x. So we need to get rid of the 7 and 5. It's a positive 7. The opposite will be negative. We're going to subtract 7 from both sides of the equation first. The 7s will cancel. We'll have 5x equals 47 minus 7, or 40. And then divide both sides by 5. The 5s will cancel here on the left side. So x equals 40 divided by 5, or 8. That's our answer. For number 41, we're going to choose the correctly translated algebraic equation. All right, so let's go ahead and distribute here and see what happens when we distribute 4 times both the terms inside parentheses. 4 times x would give us 4x plus 4 times 5, which will give us 20. That equals 18. Now, our equation that's given to us that has the same translation would be 4 times the sum of 5 gives 18. Yes. Now, why wouldn't it be A, B, or D? Let's look at these other choices. The result of 1/2 subtracted from twice a number is -3. So 1/2 subtracted from twice a number. It should be the other way around. So 1/2 subtracted from twice a number. That means twice a number had to be there, and then you took away 1/2. So this example is written in the wrong order, and the twice a number is negative. So that wouldn't work. Letter B says double the difference of a number and 3. So doubling the difference of a number and 3 yields 3. Now, first of all, it says it yields 3. So that means after the equal sign, you should have 3. So that doesn't work. Letter D, the quotient of triple a number and 6 is equal to 3. So the quotient means to divide. So we do have division going on here. But it says to divide, taking the quotient of a number, triple a number, so that means 3x, and 6. It should be in this order, so it's in the wrong order. So that's why that one doesn't work. So letter C is the correct answer. It's the correct form. And this ends our part B. We'll stop the video now.